It's Friday.
Jonathan Mark, Fridays at 8, here on AM 1480 WLEA. Oh, and here we are. Thank you, Mr. Paul Harvey, upbeat and slightly frantic as usual. Oh, and thanks also to Kevin Machado, our voice guy. He's on there too. Well, Friday, always the best time of year, no matter when it occurs. And this week it occurs on March 22nd. The spring arrived right on schedule this week. The vernal equinox occurred Wednesday at, I think it was 5:58 or 5:59. Anyway, in the late afternoon or early evening, whatever you want to call it. And while the weather doesn't necessarily reflect it, it will soon. It will be spring. Hang in there. I haven't put our snow shovels away yet, by the way, or the ice chopper, or the snow melt, or the snowshoes, or the earmuffs. So anyway, the point here being that things always happen right on schedule, precisely when they should. And they happen for a reason. We may never know why, you just have to have faith. Which, in kind of a tangential way, brings me to my point. In 1959, Carol Pasco, a native Hornellian, graduated from Hornell High School, 1959. And the first job she applied for right after graduation was at radio station WLEA. 55 years later, in 2014, she retired from WLEA. 55 years. Long time. Now, Carol passed away on Monday of this week at the age of 77 after a long illness. Now think of that. 55 years with the same company. And there's a lead story for you right there. And in an industry that thrives on innovation, novelty, and change, longevity is a very rare thing. Offhand, I can't remember ever hearing of anyone staying with one radio station for 55 years. I'll put it like this. In radio, business cards and nameplates are written in pencil. If you get my drift. Things change rapidly, and I speak from experience. Now, what did Carol do? Now, if you asked her, she probably would have said, well, I'm a receptionist. She was very self-effacing. But when you think of a receptionist does a lot in any business. They are the face of a business. The first person you see when you walk in is the receptionist, and that is very important. A receptionist deals with clients, employees, salesmen, consultants, the general public, anyone who walks in. And they answer phones, and they answer questions, and all that. But Carol also worked on traffic. As a matter of fact, she did traffic for many, many years. In the early years, it all had to be done by hand, and then it had to be done by computer. Although it's probably just as difficult, and it's something I wouldn't want to do. That's real work. Now, traffic in a radio station or a TV station deals with determining what event will run when. You're directing traffic. Every time you hear something different on the radio, it's a different event. And all of it has to be planned. And there are hundreds of events every day. This spot will run here, that spot will run there, this show here, that show there. And when you think of it, it's an arcane skill. It really is. It's an art. Because it's all pretty complicated, because clients, sponsors, all know their clientele. And they know that their clientele listen during the, let's say, the 6 o'clock hour in the morning, or the 7 o'clock hour, or the 8 o'clock hour, or generally in the morning, or generally in the afternoon. And they want their spots to run then. They know their business. And then you think, what about special sales? Or possibly during a very busy season? What do you do then? Well, clearly you can't have two clients offering basically the same product or service playing right after each other. That wouldn't be good at all. So there's a lot of juggling involved, especially when, and these are more frequent than you think, there are last-minute changes. And I mean last minute, like 60 seconds, changes. And it all has to be done every day, 7 days a week, so that it all comes out. I know it's difficult because my wife did traffic and billing, accounts payable and accounts receivable at another station, so I've heard how difficult it is, especially with everything else going on. And that's what Carol did, along with other things, including monitoring the stations WLEA and WCKR the last 30-some-odd years, and just to be sure that the right things were playing in the right order, when they should. And then you figure, what about all the drama, and the intrigue, and the crises, and the behind-the-scenes stuff? Carol also, by the way, Carol wrote some copy, and she recorded some spots.
If I could stop you there, Jonathan, I have a spot.
Oh, really?
From June of 1989.
Scales, the reason for shopping Gardner's in Canisteo just keep getting better. Right now at Gardner's, you save 35% on summer dresses and summer sportswear. 35% lower than the already low regular price. Nice range of sizes, too. 35% savings, summer sportswear, summer dresses. Right now at Gardner's in Canisteo.
Kevin used to say that he thought she had a major market voice.
She had a very pleasant, easy-to-listen-to voice. And for that reason, as I said, several businesses requested her to do their spots, like right there. So for 55 years she did this. And that's quite an accomplishment. You know, I realize you really don't want to know all this. You know, I turn on a light switch. I don't care how it works as long as the light comes on. But a little behind-the-scenes stuff can't hurt. And now that I think of it, you have to love live radio. Let me see. Carol came to WLEA in 1959. And I'm thinking, it was in 1959 that my mom gave me a book. And I know it was 1959 because I wrote it on the front page. And at that time, I lived on Long Island in West Babylon. And she said, Jonathan, I know you like this book. Boy, she was about as right as you can possibly be. Moms know. Trust me, moms know. I don't know how, but moms know. And the book is called Of Mics and Men. Mics is M-I-K-E-S, mic referring to microphone. Of course, mic is in the broadcasting industry is spelled M-I-C, short for microphone. So it was written, the book was written sometime in the early 50s, 51 or 52 or something, by a woman who worked in the early days of radio. And she started after the stock market crash of 1929, and then she got a job in a small, it was a small station in Oregon. I can't think of her name, but I will in a few seconds, or maybe like 10 seconds. It'll come to me. Anyway, so this book, written by this woman whose name I can't recall right now, anyway, it tells of her adventures and misadventures dealing with all the eccentric characters in radio. And I can say this, that radio hasn't changed a jot in all these years. It's still filled with all kinds of eccentric characters. So I was reading that in 1959 as Carol Pasco was coming to work at WLEA. 1959. Now, I just thought of the author's name, Jane Woodfin. Jane Woodfin, W-O-O-D-F-I-N. And the name of the book is Of Mics and Men. Now, fast forward about 12 to 13 years. Now it's 1971 or 72. I don't recall if it was before or after the flood of 72. And I was living in Hornell, and I applied for a job at WLEA, either writing or reading news. And that's when the studio was located on Main Street in Hornell, above the men's shop. You walked up one flight of stairs. I think it was one flight of stairs. You made a left. And I walked in, and the first person I saw when I walked in the door was, Carol Pasco. Well, I didn't get the job, but that was okay too, because obviously the time wasn't right. So I went on to do other things in other places, and I'm very glad I did, because that worked out very nicely. I got sidetracked, as it were. But have you ever noticed that some sidetracks are very scenic? Ever notice that? Anyway, so now we fast forward again, another 14 or 15 years. There's a lot of fast forwarding here. I hope everyone's wearing their seatbelts. Okay, now, 14 to 15 more years pass, and then I moved back to Hornell from California. This was the second time, in 1986. And WLEA was located here on Ashbaugh Hill, and I came up here to apply again. I walked in the front door, and who was the first person I saw? Anybody want to take a guess? That's right, Carol Pasco. And here we are 33 years after that. Now I'm thinking, if Jane Woodfin, the author of Mike's Men, wrote a very entertaining book about her experiences in radio in the 1930s, imagine what Carol could have written. Now, I mean, boy howdy. Yes, sir, it would have been a page-turner. Now, Carol was in radio in the 1960s and the 1970s and the 1980s and the 1990s, 2000-aughts, until 2014. Now that, as I said, would have been a real page-turner. But as I said, I think things happen for a reason, and everything happens when it should. We've all heard that. Either people or places or jobs or things or seasons. So it all kind of works out. Now, Brian looks like he wants to say something.
Can I play another Carol spot?
Sure.
Yes, I need to buy some paint. What's so funny?
Why do you want to buy paint here when you can get free paint at Mullen Carpets of Elmond?
Free paint?
That's right. In order to introduce themselves as the newest paint dealer in the area, Mullen Carpets is giving away quality Pratt & Lambert paints in over 700 colors. Through April 23rd only, make any $50 carpet or vinyl purchase and receive a free quart of paint.
Wow. When was that from?
That was from March of 1987.
Wow, 1987. So I know that she also did spots for, let me see, Bennett's Greenhouse, I think.
Yes.
She did a lot of spots for Bennett's Greenhouse.
Right.
Oh, yeah, right. And when you heard those spots for Bennett's Greenhouse, done by Carol, you know spring is here. Here we go. Great place. Yes, sir. So, yeah, 55 years in one business. That's an amazing accomplishment. So, as I said, everything happens for a reason. Seasons come and go, and it all kind of works out. Well, speaking of seasons, what kind of climate catastrophe have we weathered this week? I think we led off with a cyclone bomb. Was it last weekend or the previous week? A cyclone bomb. Now, it missed us, but I'm sure it came pretty close. And anyway, did you ever hear of a cyclone bomb before last year? No, I never did. Now, the National Weather Service says the term has been in use for many, many years, although I don't know where. I never heard of it. Maybe you have, but not me. I still think it has a lot to do with plain marketing. Now, a cyclone bomb has a nice apocalyptic ring to it. It sounds really, really important. Actually, a cyclone bomb, I looked it up this morning. A cyclone bomb technically is when a storm arises and the barometric pressure drops 24 millibars, that's about this much, in 24 hours. And that's a cyclone bomb. So, but it does have a nice ring to it. And like the polar vortex. Like the jet stream has never dipped south to bring cold weather. Never in the 4.35 billion year history of the planet has the jet stream ever dipped south and brought cold weather. It's never happened before. At least that's the way I understand it. Now, I kind of wonder what would happen if a cyclone bomb met a polar vortex. I think everyone in the National Weather Service would probably need some therapy. It could get pretty interesting. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of more climate catastrophe notes here, which we will get to after I think we're going to be taking a break now. Brian? Yes, we will be taking a break, and we will be right back.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In college basketball, we had our first full day of action in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and there were some double-digit seeds that picked up wins, including 12-seeded Murray State, who beat the 5th-seed Marquette 83-64. The Racers were led by Ja Morant, who picked up the 9th triple-double in NCAA tournament history, 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 16 assists. 10th-seeded Minnesota beat the 7th-seed Louisville 86-76. 10th-seeded Florida beat the 7th-seed Nevada 70-61. There were some near misses. 5th-seeded Auburn squeaks by 12th-seeded New Mexico State 78-77. It was 6-seeded Maryland downing the 11-seed Belmont 79-77, and 6-seeded Villanova gets by 11-seeded St. Mary 61-57. Top seed Gonzaga had no trouble moving on. There were 3 number 2 seeds who advanced in Michigan State, Kentucky, and Michigan. LSU with a 3-seed moves on. A couple of 4 seeds, Florida State and Kansas advance, and 7-seeded Wofford as well as 9-seeded Baylor also move on.
And we, sorry, caught me napping there. I believe we have Rob Carolyn on the line. Rob?
You would be correct, Jonathan. How are you this morning, sir?
Very good, very good. Doing very well, yes. So, let me see, anything untoward coming weather-wise here?
Well, in regards to good weather, we've got a nice forecast for Sunday. It looks like it's going to be the pick day out of the weekend because we're not only going to see some sunshine, but we're going to get some milder temperatures. But still not done with winter on the charts yet, Jonathan. Even though we'll be turning nice and mild for Sunday, another shot of cold air is going to come down from Canada, and by Tuesday of next week, drop our temperatures below normal. But the good news is we're starting to see some fluctuation into milder temperatures every so often, and that's kind of the hallmark. Usually the second half of March, you start to see some variability in the temperatures as the warm weather, which is developing across the southern United States, tries to come northward. Big storm system this morning evolving south of Long Island. It's going to go up into the Gulf of Maine today. The cloudiness associated with it is all the way back into eastern Michigan. So we're going to have a tendency to stay cloudy. Today will be breezy. There'll be a couple of rain and snow showers out there, 40 to 45. Sunrise earlier this morning was at 7:09. It'll set tonight at 7:25. Tonight, if you're headed out, there may be a couple of snow showers around during the evening. Keep that in mind. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, breezy, and cold, 20 to 25 overnight. Tomorrow, we do see some improvement. The storm's going to lift up into eastern Canada. As it does so, our skies will become partly to mostly sunny. We're going to be breezy, chilly tomorrow, 35 to 40. Tomorrow night, skies are clear, 25 to 30. Jonathan, for Sunday, sunshine through the morning. Clouds will start to increase in the afternoon. Big story, though, the temperatures on Sunday. 55 to near 60 degrees.
Yes, sir. The golf courses should be open maybe in 2-3 weeks or something, I guess. I hope.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I think probably by the time we get into the second week of April, they'll be doing a whole lot better. But as I mentioned, still some mentions of that white stuff in the forecast. In fact, we could have some snow showers here on Sunday night and right into Monday morning.
The last couple of weeks, you couldn't even get a tee in the ground. It was frozen.
No,
it would have been
this is
impossible.
true, and that has changed. So,
Yeah.
we're getting there slowly but surely.
Not bad, not bad. Thanks, Rob. See you next week.
You got it, sir.
Okay, bye.
From the Fox Business Network, Nike is reporting a strong holiday quarter, but it's predicting business growth will slow this year. Though Nike stock is losing ground because of the weaker forecast, there are bright spots. Nike says its digital business online purchases reached $1 billion in the latest quarter, and its digital business grew 36%. Nike is also seeing women's sneaker sales grow faster than men's. It's also introducing more sneakers that cost less than $100. Tesla is bringing back its customer referral program. It cut the program in January because it was too expensive. Under the new referral plan, both the Tesla owner who recommends a friend and the new buyer will receive 1,000 miles of free supercharging. The Dow was up 216 on Thursday, NASDAQ up 109, S&P added 30. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
When weather hits, the right wiper blades make all the difference. That's when the Michelin Man is on your side, helping you see better and drive safer with new Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. Designed with exclusive SmartFlex technology or frameless beam design, Michelin blades flex to the curve of your windshield, giving you unparalleled, streak-free, long-lasting, all-season performance. So when the going gets tough, be ready with Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. It's a difference you can see. Available at Walmart, Pep Boys, Amazon, and other fine retailers.
Take a good look at that floor you're walking on. It's done its job, but this is the last winter it will survive. It's gotta go! Mullen Factory Direct Flooring in Almond has the largest selection of in-stock floor coverings in the region. All the major name brands. You can shop the quality flooring, pick out your choice, and have it installed right now. No box store wait, and get creative with financing too. Say so long to that worn-out floor, and say hello to quality flooring from Mullen Factory Direct Floor Covering in Almond.
And we are back. Yes, sir, just as we said we would. Now, during the break, Brian mentioned that you found another spot done by Carol Pasco.
Yeah, this was from 2008. It's It shows how well her voice lasted for so long.
Talking to an Allstate agent at the Robert V. Crowell Agency in Arkport can really make a driver feel safe. When you call the Crowell Agency, you get a knowledgeable insurance agent who's there when you need help, whose name is in the same phone book as yours, who can see if you qualify for discounts.
Very good, very good. Yeah, there was she did a lot of spots over her 55 years here. I'm playing with 55 years at one company, any company at all. I mean, anywhere. That's amazing. You know, I was going over some notes during the break here, and I have some other catastrophic climate events here that are going on, and you never really know. It's pretty scary out there. There was a story in the Washington Post a couple of weeks ago about how, let me see, where is it? Stratocumulus clouds are disappearing. Now, why should we be alarmed at stratocumulus clouds disappearing? I don't exactly know how they figured that out, but apparently, if they disappear, things are going to get really hot, and we're all going to die. Okay, so stratocumulus clouds are disappearing, and that's one more reason to be very, very afraid, probably, of everything. But now, talking about the climate change, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago how I read a story where the Brooklyn Bridge is going to be under 20 feet of water and we're all going to drown. Then we've all heard of the polar vortex, and it's becoming more frequent, so we're all going to freeze. Okay, so like we've never heard of the jet stream and how it moves north and south. It's a brand new thing. It never existed until recently. But wait, because I read a story last week about how the climate is moving 300 miles south, according to a study by some climate science research group somewhere. And the conclusion is by 2080, the climate in New York City will feel like northern Arkansas. And the climate in Rochester will feel like Chester, Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia. So apparently we're all going to roast like Thanksgiving turkeys. So my question is, are we going to freeze, roast, or drown? Or possibly all three at the same time? I'm not sure. But always looking on the bright side of things, I always do that. I see something very positive here. If the oceans do rise, and the Brooklyn Bridge is under 20 feet of water, and if the climate does become unbearably hot, we can always walk outside our back door and take a swim in the ocean. So that'll cool us down, and it's really not all that bad, I guess. Okay, let me see. Oh, yes, next week, a very, very interesting guest. You've heard of the president's plan for a space force. Now, I've read some articles where a lot of people in the media are ridiculing the idea of a space force. But not so fast, because China has a similar thing, a space force of sorts, as does I almost said Soviet Union. So does Russia. So the Chinese have something like that, and the Russians have something like that. So I think if we had what you would call a space force, it would not be a bad idea. Matter of fact, it might be a very good idea. And I'm going to have a guest on here by phone, I think it's going to be. He works at, he's a professor at AU. And he's going to be talking about what might possibly happen if we do not have a space force. This man is very, very knowledgeable. I'm not going to tell you his name yet, but he will be here next week. So, where are we now? Oh, coming up after the news at the bottom of the hour, we have the Newsmaker program, and of course, as on every Friday, Dr. Robert Heinemann of Alfred University. And I think probably a good chance he'll be talking about what's going to happen with who's going to replace former State Senator Kathy.
Yeah, you're really going to pick his brain on that one.
Yeah, that should be very, very interesting. You know, he said that it's vicious in Albany, and the more you find out about how things work there, boy, he is right on the money. I mean, it's got to be a zoo in Albany. It's just brutal, absolutely brutal. I think, frankly, that Kathy Young was doing an excellent job, but I guess that's the way it goes, and we do wish her well. Okay, that seems to be it for this show, and I will see you next week. Bye.